Hey guys, so I guess because it's Christmas, I decided to draw Scaramouche, aka the Wanderer from Genshin Impact. I liked his original drawing before, like his original outfit before that he used to wear. I do have a drawing of the original uniform. If you want to check it out, it's in my drawings playlist. It is an older drawing though, so yeah. This one is his new one, which is the Wanderer look. It's when he has his whole redemption arc and stuff like that. I'm always about broken characters that get redemption arcs. Sorry, it's kind of cheesy, I know, but I really like that, especially since I like good characters to begin with normally. So yeah. Um anyways, it took me like a whole hour to draw this. Actually, 2 hours because I was sidetracked by so many different things. But honestly, it probably would have only taken an hour to draw for like the time of sketching, minus all the different things I was doing alongside of it. And then it took me like an hour to color in. There's so many details to the point where I was like, oh boy, here we go. So yeah, so this one is really pretty. I did like his old design too. It was more edgy feeling and I did like the colors a lot. But for this one, I don't know. The whole bright and happy thing really makes me happy. So this is what he gets, like his animo vision and stuff like that. And he looks like this. It's super pretty. So I wanted to do this. Ignore the fact that this is formatted, this small clip of me coloring his eyes. I don't know why it became like this. I tried to rotate the drawing and it on it rotate this one because for some reason it ended up the wrong way when I was filming, and then for some reason it was like that. So ignore the fact that that clip it for coloring in his eyes was like had a whole border around it. I don't know what happened to that clip, but I still wanted to include it because it was like a part of the coloring process. Um Scaramouche is like my favorite in terms of like the villain characters. I don't really like Tartaglia. I don't know why. It's probably just like I don't know. For his looks, they're okay, but I don't know. I just like super edgy characters, so Scaramouche was my favorite out of both of them, I would have to say. I know a lot of people like Tartaglia more, but that's just me, I guess. So yeah. Um, what is there to say really? Here I am coloring in his hair. His hair is kind of like this dark purple border lining blue, and it's really hard to color in. So I really did mostly purple and then added the blue accents into it. But if you look up drawings, like references of him, I have to say it does look more bluish. So this was just me shading stuff in. I wanted to give him like that expression where he's like overly confident about himself. He always has that expression. It's super like fun to play around with like how the facial expressions look. So yeah. One thing about this drawing though is that I feel like I made him a little too buff. In my defense though, like when drawing anime type characters, I got super used to so before I ever drew like muscle definition and stuff like that, I couldn't do that. Like I didn't grasp that whole concept. So eventually when I watched My Hero Academia and I started drawing more muscle definition and improving on like proportions and stuff, eventually I got to the point where I drew muscular characters. The thing is, MiHoYo is a Chinese company and I'll go into a little bit more detail, but basically, I want to say for a lot of Asian races, you don't really look at like besides Japanese anime, a lot of different animations like Chinese animations, most guys are like not buff. They're fit, but they're more like the pretty boy type of characters, I have to say. It's just a typical thing that happens with like Chinese standards. So yeah. So instead of like, you know how Americans view more pretty, like more beautiful people as like maybe buff in terms of like muscular, in terms of like guys. For Asian culture, I feel like they more likely look at like more softer looking men. That's why they like are more feminized in a way, you could say. To me, it honestly doesn't matter. I like either or. That's why I like My Hero Academia so much, and at the same time, Genshin Impact is okay for me too. Also the thing with like the longer hair, a lot of guys have longer hair. If you look into like Chinese like dramas and movies that have to do with like the I don't know. The ones that are like more war based back in the old days and like the kung fu type movies, if you've ever seen those, a lot of guys had longer hair and they weren't allowed to cut it during certain eras. And that's the whole thing behind that. I feel like maybe that's where they got their inspiration from because they're a Chinese company, because MiHoYo's from China. So that may be why a lot of male characters have long hair because that's seen as like a standard of like, oh, that's an attractive looking guy. To be honest, it's okay, but at the same time, I feel like to each their own. You can't just say that like a buff person looks better than like a softer person. I know like in Korean dramas and like in K-pop in general, it's the softer looking guys that are more attractive. So yeah. But that might be why a lot of like characters like Alhaitham and what's his name? Aritaki Ito, they're buff but not super buff the way that people expected them to be. I feel like that's probably why they're not like the extremely buff characters that like people thought they would be when they were coming out in the game. But you know, it's kind of expected from a Chinese company looking at it like in terms of like sexualization, attractiveness of characters, and stuff like that. To me, that's just like a typical thing for like Asian characters in general. Normally, they're softer looking and stuff like that. So that's probably why there's certain things about male characters in Genshin that are kind of like you'll see as a standard. It's just typical. So yeah. So I'm kind of used to drawing a lot more muscular characters. So for Scaramouche or aka Wanderer, I did draw him a bit more muscular than he was in the original art style of Genshin. But to be honest, you know what? It's fine. I'm trying to do like more realistic stuff though too. Like I feel like if you're fighting with weapons and stuff, you would have more muscle definition anyways, so it shouldn't be like a problem if you like implement that into the artwork. Um I really like his costume though. I want a cosplay of it so bad. There's also a I don't know, there's a Diluc cosplay that I want. It's the Red Dead of Night. That one is also like on my list of cosplays to get just because they're super pretty, but they are super expensive because the amount of detail put into like each cosplay. I understand why they're like closer to $200, but $200 is not in my budget, especially like as someone working minimum wage. So yeah, but eventually I'll get there, hopefully, and save up for those cosplays. Anyways, back to Scaramouche. I added as much detail as I could. To be honest, I was gonna do him in a different pose beforehand, but then I ended up choosing this pose because I don't know. I thought it would be a nice pose, and also it shows off like both sides of his costume better. I know for like the other one, I did like the original clothing that he had. I did one where he was just like tilting his hat down and it was more sideways, so it was less detail, so that way you could see less of the clothing, like half of the clothing. So yeah, he was more in a specific way strategically, so I didn't have to like draw all the details for both sides of the clothing. But for this one, I really wanted to like just do the whole thing. So I'm just coloring in. For the Genshin characters, I honestly like block out the different colors. So for gold, you'll notice I did the gold first, and then for the gray and black, I'm doing that next. It's just an easier way since there's so many different colors in the costumes. Normally, like when I'm drawing my own characters, there's only like one or two colors for the clothing, so it's easier to shade in everything and remember each part. But for these, to remember like what each part has, like the underlayer clothing and the top layer, I definitely wanted to block out like where each gray goes first and then move on to the next color, like so. It's different from how I color in other drawings. I explained this before in other Genshin Impact drawing videos that I've done, but basically I will normally do like color the shirt first, and then I'll color the jacket next, and then I'll color like the pants next. But for Genshin characters, it's always like blocking out specific colors, so that way it's just easier to remember that I have colored everything in. I did end up naming Scaramouche, and I did pull for him, and I got him too. But the awkward part is, so I chose a funny nickname to give to him, and then I realized, like, after a while, like, there was one time I was using Scaramouche, and then I realized that his name was actually changed to the name that I gave him. So it's kind of funny because my brother sometimes like watches me play Genshin, but he doesn't play it himself, but he watches me play, and honestly, he could have seen that nickname and it was hilarious, but like I quickly hid it. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna play as him because it's right there, the name. So yeah. And now I'm coloring in like the purple parts. So he has like these purple like ropes and straps for his belt area. Um Sorry if it's hard to see some parts. For some reason, in my mind, I wasn't focusing on like when I was filming, so I decided to not move my drawing up as much as I should have for the right angle, and then that's why sometimes you guys miss out on like the bottom half. I do apologize though. That was just me being like too in tune with music and stuff. I was listening to music as I was drawing this actually. I want to say his most difficult part would be the hat, because all of those little details, especially the gold part, I was so like, I don't know. When I was drawing it, I got really confused because the references aren't always clear, and sometimes you need multiple references to see different angles of things, especially if you're trying to draw something like I had a reference where he was crossing his arms and it was from fan art, but to be honest, it was blocked off by other characters being next to him, like some parts of him. So, like his right shoulder area, like I didn't know what the clothing looked like until I looked at like other references. So, that type of thing, like looking at different angles, is very important. But it was like a struggle because I was like, I can't see this angle properly, so I'm gonna have to come up with like what it would look like on at a certain angle for his clothing. Then there's me coloring in his hat. His hat is super pretty though, even though it was like really difficult to draw. I love it so much. I really want a cosplay of this one because his hat is like really nice. So now I'm just coloring in like a blue part. Like he has like the cloth part there with like the gold pieces. So I'm just coloring that in first. We have so many characters in the game that are Animo Vision though, so it was kind of like surprising that they chose to make him Animo instead of keep him as Electro. I guess for his redemption, he doesn't have to be like reminded of like the Electro, cuz he's actually like this human made. I think he's supposed to be human made. I can't remember what my friend said, but basically he's supposed to be like a replica of the Raiden Shogun. So that's why he was Electro. Is supposed to be like her, practically her son, but like she doesn't like him, so it's kind of a sad story. And now I'm finishing to color in the hat. I don't know. I feel like I kind of partially made his hat a bit too small, but at the same time, there was like, I don't know. I already drew it and then put in all the detail, and I was like, I'm not going to erase everything and try to make it bigger. But it's kind of in line with how I drew him before because I didn't make his hat that big in comparison either, so it's okay. I guess it matches my art style. There's so much blue in this drawing. Honestly, my favorite color is red, but now when I see blue stuff, I really like it. And that might be because I'm biased because I like Kaya a lot. And so anything blue or icy blue that I see now, I'm just like, reminds me of Kaya. So yeah. But Scaramouche is like, I don't know what place he would be in terms of like my favorite character because I really like a lot of characters, but I don't normally like line them up as a list. In terms of like Kai is my favorite, but that's all I'm gonna like. But in terms of like everyone else, they're kind of below him, but I still like them a lot. Let me know in the comment section down below, like who's your favorite character or who do you main as in Genshin? Um, and then also let me know if you guys have any drawing requests for like different characters you like. Doesn't have to be from Genshin Impact, can be from animes or games and stuff like that. Definitely let me know if you have any drawing requests that you have. Um, I will leave the links in my description box below for my social media, so I will eventually post all the process work for Scaramouche himself. Um, yeah, I really love this drawing a lot because I haven't done like a big drawing in forever, so doing this was like basically that. I normally have like recently I've just been doing a whole bunch of like small drawings just because I haven't had time to like sit down and film like a whole drawing like this. But honestly, it was fun to draw even though it took me like forever. Honestly, the amount of detail, sometimes it's like super tedious where I don't want to. I know I wanted to draw him, but then I was like, maybe I won't because it's gonna take so long. And then I was like, never mind, I'll draw him for Christmas. Cause like, I know I kept thinking in my mind, I wanted to draw him, but I just couldn't find the time to do it, so yeah. I really love all of like the different accents to the clothing, and to be honest, like I said, sometimes I find it super tedious, but at the same time it looks so pretty, so it's like a hate-love relationship when it comes to like drawing Genshin characters, honestly. Now I'm just outlining everything and then it will be done. I tried to like my first time when I like drew him, his shoulders were a bit more broad, and then my friend told me, "Oh, maybe just like make his shoulders slope down a bit more so that way it doesn't look super muscular," which I think it helped in the end cuz I changed it to be like that. But honestly, I still made him a bit buffer than he was supposed to be, and I guess it makes sense if they're using like weapons in the game, but honestly, I don't know. It's just gonna be a habit of me drawing stuff like that. I guess it matches like for if I want to do things in my own style. So yeah. That's basically it for this video though. I'm just outlining everything. I hope everyone's like having a good holiday. I know it's been, I don't know, for me it feels like it's been a while because of like the COVID and quarantine, honestly. Like before, like the years before, like it feels like it's been a while since we actually had like an actual Christmas. I normally don't see like family members though, except for the people I live with, which is my brother and dad when it comes to Christmas. So we just like stay together because we're living together anyways. But yeah, I hope everyone enjoys this Christmas this year, like especially because you can visit family and friends now. So yeah. Basically it for this video. After this, I'm just gonna like outline some of the white highlights for certain parts of the clothing and his eyes. I also did some like outlining on his hat just because all the gold pieces were like touching each other, so it was hard to see like where one piece ends and where one piece begins. I honestly got confused myself. After coloring it in, you sometimes don't see all the parts that you draw, so you have to kind of remember what you drew and stuff like that. He's so pretty though. Like I really like this one a lot. Um it's fun. It feels like an art project whenever drawing them. But yeah, definitely one of my favorite characters that I have drawn so far. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Also, Merry Christmas to you guys. And hope everyone has like a good holiday and stuff like that and enjoy like Boxing Day and stuff. I actually took like marked that day off, so I'm not going to be working Boxing Day. I'm just going to be going around seeing if there's anything to buy with my brother cuz it's like I normally don't take days off. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Merry Christmas.